is just fantastic. Captain's Log, Subdates 210922.4. Upon my return to the USS Arcadia, I have been informed that Subfleet have ordered crewman Bork be reinstated as pilot, so we need to do a lot of work to fix his kinda crippled frame. Unless of course we want him to be part cyborg, part Ferengi, so we can control him even more. I think it's safe to say at this point I am pretty much done with the idea of pretending to give up covering the subject of Shamima Begum. I kept saying it in the first 4 to 5 videos. I think I might have alluded to it in the last one, but then she just keeps on cropping up, and it is getting more and more divisive, with people taking very interesting stances when it comes to whether or not she should be allowed to come back to the United Kingdom. For some peculiar reason, one of the main TV networks in the United Kingdom, ITV, on their morning show Good Morning Britain, the show that Piers Morgan used to be a part of, decided to get Shamima Begum onto their show, and it is that interview we're going to address an aspect of today. This, personally, I think is a bad idea, and I believe I am not alone, based on the mass downvoting of the YouTube version of that interview, which I can't show on this channel because, well, obviously, GMV will just copy, write, claim everything. And because they're a major channel on TV as well as YouTube, I guess, YouTube will ignore the fact fair use exists for a reason, and I will end up with a strike, which I don't want. So as to better catch you up from what happened with the last video we did covering Shamima, which is all referenced in a playlist, yeah, there's a playlist for this. We're going to go back to June, where Simon Anthony DePass said to me, "I know you said you're done with Shamima Begum topic, but it seems like victim points have been discovered for her to potentially get her citizenship renewed." Underneath is an article from Sky News. Within the article, it claims that there is overwhelming evidence that Shamima Begum was a victim of trafficking. Now this is because she was 15 when she left East London with 2 fellow schoolgirls to join Islamic State in Syria in February 2015. Many people already know what happened. She was talking to somebody, a lady not much older in fact. That person convinced them to go to Turkey and then cross the border and give up their passport. Her passport was not in fact her own, it belonged to somebody else. The article also covers the fact that Shamima is challenging the Home Office's decision about revoking her citizenship and has asked a specialist tribunal to consider whether or not she is a victim of, well, the aforementioned trafficking. I do wonder then, as she claims to now be a victim of trafficking, if she'll suddenly divorce her husband or not. I mean, surely she should. That's part of the problem, right? It makes complete sense. An ex-US diplomat, Peter Galbraith, who secured a release of a Canadian detainee in Syria, believes that Shamima should be allowed to come back to the United Kingdom because she does not pose a danger to the British public. With him saying, "I've talked to Shamima. She is part of the group of women who have absolutely rejected the Islamic State. I know enough about her to feel quite confident that she's not a dangerous person." No offense intended to Peter at all, but I don't think the United Kingdom is going to listen to you on this one. And while she might not pose a threat to the British public, I think the British public might pose a threat to her. And while that was back in June, along with the first article from Sky, I do want to reference a tweet that I put out on the 15th of September, where Kelly Jackson tweeted, "Mad how 15 is too young for kids to make their own decision on a vaccine. But Shamima Begum knew what she was doing at 15, almost like there is something underlying that I can't put my finger on." To which I quote retweeted, "False equivalence much? Oh, and how much cope is required to turn replies off then act big brave when you were too cowardly to handle the criticism?" Because understandably, with a tweet like that, she turned the replies off. If you're going to stand on a position, at least have the balls to see the responses. It's why I had to quote retweet you. And for the sake of it, it is a grey area when it comes to the age of Shamima when it came to her making a decision to steal someone else's passport to travel to Turkey and then give up the passport and suddenly get married, have 3 kids, lose her 3 kids, be a part of the morale police while living in a utopia. There's more to it than that. We'll get to it soon, I promise. Over the last 3 months, I noticed that on 2 separate occasions, Shamima Begum was trending on Twitter. Now, if I was smart, I would have archived the trend at the time, but I got a tad busy with other things. My apologies for that. I did, though, archive it for the more recent, and I couldn't help but notice how divided people were. Some taking the stance that they have no sympathy whatsoever, others saying that she is stateless for a mistake she made at 15, but white supremacist Ben John was told to read some classic literature, false equivalence, okay. Others saying she'll probably be on Love Island next year. And finally others pointing out that if there are implications that you are involved in anything that is, let's say, not English, your citizenship is now conditional, which tells me a lot about those on Twitter and how well they cope with the decision of Sajid Javid. The thing is, Sajid Javid was the Home Secretary at the time. There are things he knows that he cannot disclose. So all you're doing is taking what he has said and running with it as if that's all there is. So on to what has happened more recently. Appearing on live TV via Good Morning Britain, Shamima said she did nothing in the Islamic State but be a mother and a wife, which is a tad contrary to what we actually know so far and things she has said in the past through other interviews with Sky News. So while she is in Camp Sunshine, she said the following, which I can't play a clip of, but I will read the quote instead. Thank you, ITV, for being twats. I would rather die than go back to IS, and that I am willing to go to court and face the people who made these claims and refute these claims, because I know I did nothing in IS but be a mother and a wife. These claims are being made to make me look worse because the government do not have anything on me, which is of course why the Supreme Court ruled that she could not return to the UK to contest her case in person. There are many aspects of that ruling when it comes to evidence provided we are not privy to. There's a good reason for that, and it's because they have something on you. Enough so that MI5 consider you a national security risk because although you travelled out as a minor, you aligned with ISIS by remaining in Syria. And when you were asked to provide evidence during the trial, you didn't. So how are you going to refute a claim by not refuting? Do you believe that the only way you can do so is by having both your feet on British soil? Because that way you'll totally be safe? Which, I'm not going to lie, comes across as a bit of a power play, doesn't it? And just because I want to read an additional quote from her. For those who have even a drop of mercy and compassion and empathy in their hearts, I tell you from the bottom of my heart that I regret every decision I've made since I stepped into Syria, and I will live with it for the rest of my life. Shortly after, the former Home Secretary, now Health Secretary Sajid Javid, said that it was based on the advice of the department but also our intelligence agencies, and I am clear that it was absolutely the right decision to protect the British people. Despite the televised appeal, there is no prospect of Shamima Begum being able to come to the UK in person given the court rulings, which leaves her to remain under Kurdish detention until the British legal process is exhausted. A leak from Whitehall, and this is the part that really throws her under a bus here, suggests that Shamima Begum was involved in sewing suicide vests for Islamic State, but that claim had never been aired in court during the battle over her citizenship, no doubt because of a lack of evidence. So for the sake of it, it is a leak, but it is a leak that has not been confirmed or used in a courtroom. And as a final bit, when the Home Office were asked about all of this, a spokesman said, "The government's top priority remains maintaining our national security and keeping the public safe." Insert those who now say, "How are you keeping us safe when you won't allow a now 20-something-year-old back into the country because she was 15 when she made a mistake?" It's quite a hefty mistake based on what we know, I'm going to give you that. And if any of the other stuff has been proven true, it's not just a mistake at that point, is it? Now, as we're done, I'd like to know what you think. Please do let me know in the comments down below. I'm not going to bother promising I won't do another one of these, because it's possible, because there's more court wrangling to go ahead. But I will update you when there's enough to go on. If I don't see you on Twitch tonight, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and thank you all very much for listening.